I love this stuff.
Now we just need
first snowfall of the year, and it shows. So welcome. We are officially calling to order this regular meeting of the Truckee-Donner Public Utility District. It is Wednesday, November 2nd. Could we get a roll call, please?
Thank you. Director Aguirre?
Here.
Director Laliotis?
Here.
Director Harris?
Here.
President Finn?
Here.
The record will note Vice President Bender is absent.
Thank you. Next up, the Pledge of Allegiance. As you are willing and able, please stand to join us. And Director Laliotis, would you like to lead us today?
Ready to begin. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Brian, do we have any changes to the agenda this evening?
Yes, President Finn, we would like to pull item number 13, the closed session item, and schedule that for a later meeting.
Thank you very much. Noted. Public comments. So this is time that is set aside for the public to comment on any matter that is not on the agenda. Any matter that is on the agenda should be addressed when that item comes up. Do we have any public comments via the internets?
No, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Seeing none, we're moving on to our director updates. This is a time for the directors to comment on any item within the purview of the district. I'm going to start with Director Harris.
You know, I always like this opportunity to thank all of our staff. I know everybody's been working real hard, especially now with the snow and the unloading of the snow off of our lines, and, you know, may or may not knock out power here and there. But I know it's getting colder. The crews are working outdoors, and we do appreciate that they're bundling up and keeping the power on and the water going. Also, Big Truck Day, it appears to be a great success. So thank you to staff for helping out with all of that. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Director Laliotis?
Sure. Just to kind of follow up on what Kim said, I also want to thank staff for working hard this summer, keeping everything going. And it's very nice to see the white stuff so that we can try and forget about the orange stuff for a while, and get those reclosers reset to keep us in power a little bit longer. No, just congratulations, another great year, and I really appreciate tree crews, our line crews, everything, keeping our electric system up and running this summer. So really appreciate that.
Thank you, Director Laliotis. Director Aguirre, do you have any comments tonight?
The first snowstorm of the year, and I'm glad you guys are on it. I knew you would be. Thank you very much for the service. And I heard we had a little outage this morning, but it wasn't too bad, I guess. So that's about it for me.
Thank you, Director Aguirre.
I'm sorry for being late.
No, it's okay. It happens to all of us. And I also have a couple things to add to all of that, which I echo, of course. Well, not of course, I do echo. Thank you. A couple things to report out on was that I attended the event that Stephen Poncelet put on that we hosted to help enter into discussions with CARB about our clean fleet transition. So the state wants us to, we need to transition all of our vehicles into zero emissions, and this was a really great opportunity for us to interact with CARB and show them what we do, where we do it, and how a one-size-fits-all approach to that policy is not necessarily going to work for us. When we talk about putting people's lives and our mission directly in danger, that's a heavy lift. So I think that was a really great event. I learned a lot. I am sure CARB learned a lot. And thank you, Stephen, for your hard work in putting that together for us. We really appreciate that. And Director Laliotis also attended that in a dual capacity. So it was really a pleasure to hear him break down some of our vehicles and how they work and how they're customized. I also attended our second CTA meeting, that's the Climate Transformation Alliance, that we ratified that charter earlier this summer. I was very happy with the attendance of that meeting. We had a lot of new districts, including from all the way from South Shore, Placer County, Nevada County, all represented. And it was a good start, I think, for us to meet our counterparts, begin the sort of trust-building phase where we understand what our challenges are, the challenges that we share, and also the things that are different, that we don't share, challenges that affect some more powerfully than others. So I think we're off to a good start, and I'm excited to see how it evolves and what kind of results we can get out of that alliance. And finally, it was pointed out to me that Friday is National Love Your Lawyer Day. So this is an appreciation of Steve Gross, our counsel here at the PUD. I don't think he or any lawyers hear it very often enough, but we really do appreciate you keeping our contracts, tight, and our conflict civil, and ourselves from being accidentally criminal. It's great. We really do appreciate what you do for us, Steve. So thank you. And I think that is all that I have to report out on this.
I just have one more, just good luck to all the candidates next week.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, it's election day. so
Election day.
Thank you for everyone who's running, for taking the opportunity to try and serve this community.
Cheers to having the election behind us in a week.
Oh, okay, come.
Okay, that brings us to the general manager update. Brian, what do you have for us this evening?
Thank you. I have a few things for you. First, I wanted to update on the community broadband issue initiative, not the issue. Well, some would say it is an issue, but we're pursuing an initiative to address the issue. We had the successful survey, the phone surveys of, we received 400 responses there through our Uptown Consulting Services, very successful endeavor there. Subsequent to that, we launched an online opportunity for folks in our community, particularly ratepayers, got email notifications to participate. We're very excited to announce within the first 5 days of that email opportunity or online opportunity, we had 1,300 respondents. And that's a pretty significant response, with any initiative we're launching there. So we're going to send out a reminder here in the next day or so that the online opportunity still exists. We're probably going to close it at the end of the weekend, but it really gives an opportunity for those who didn't have the opportunity over the phone to respond on an online survey circuit there. And so we'll gather that information through our consultant. We'll also have an RFP out currently seeking input from ISP providers, whether they're investor-owned or co-ops or collaborative community opportunities out there, to really kind of survey and get the sense of what the interest is to partner, if that becomes one of the options, a potential option to partner with the PUD in broadband services, what that looks like. And so Uptown Services is going to evaluate those our proposals from different potential partnerships with our task force and staff. And we're looking to present an item to the board in January. It was originally scheduled for the December meeting. I think that's December 7th. We're looking to allow a little bit more time for that RFP process to make sure that we have a good response or a time for a comprehensive response from anybody who's interested. Aggregate that data together and present to the board for potential next steps. So excited that we're moving along, we're making progress in that endeavor. In January, look for an item for us to have a collaborative discussion and get board feedback and direction on what the next steps would be on that initiative. Also want to kind of piggyback on President Finn's comment with the Advanced Clean Fleet. I want to thank also all of the partners. It was really a true collaborative coalition, if you will, of local public agencies in our region. As you mentioned, Director Laliotis represented Tahoe City PUD. We also had General Manager Patrick Hawley from Elmwood. We had the sewer district. We had Silicon Valley Power. We had other, I think, North Tahoe PUD, South Tahoe PUD. We had CMUA, Aqua, all of our JPA advocates there all attend this, and it was truly a collaborative effort to really represent the challenges that we face in, one, our geographical conditions, but also our climate. We're talking about today the snow and the essential services we provide in these extreme weather events, and how important it is that while we're all very supportive and look forward to decarbonizing our fleet and operations, we need to do it in a responsible timeline and a responsible manner so we don't compromise public health and safety for all the communities we serve in public water and power. So I really want to thank everyone who participated. Emphasis on Director Laliotis. He did an excellent job in presenting some of the specific challenges we face with procurement and management of essential fleet. So thank you on that collaborative effort. Also, am very happy to announce, with the snow and the moisture that we've experienced over the last couple days and expecting over the next week or so, we have officially transitioned back out of the single shot protocol, or the operations, back to standard reclosure. So when we do have outages due to weather events, the snow loading we talked about earlier, they'll be more isolated, and our circuit protection systems are now in full recloser mode as they normally are, and we're kind of out of that wildfire high-risk zone that we've been over through the summer. Also with that, very happy that we didn't have a PSOM event or even kind of that last hour notification that we did last summer. And so we really had fortunate, we didn't have a lot of smoke events in Truckee. Really fortunate there. We're, always in support of some of our public partners on the other side of the summit that had some challenges there with the fires earlier this summer, but very happy that we didn't have any incidents here locally and that we didn't have to manage any outages dictated by NV Energy. This morning, or yesterday morning, our electric utility director successfully negotiated the extension of our power purchase agreement with Truckee Carson Irrigation District, the small hydro. So that gets extended another year. It's a small procurement, but it's important part of our overall portfolio. So that was successfully extended. Also happy to report out that we've talked a lot about in different updates with the billing arrearages, the past due amounts. And, we had a lot of, we were susceptible to some risks there during the COVID original, the initial pandemic breakout and some of the programs that the state put in place. And we've been slowly recovering, getting those arrearages back under control and manageable, and they continue to reduce. So all of the 30, 60, and 90-day past due accounts are slowly getting caught back up. And so, we're down to that kind of 2% of billing past due. But what we're really happy about is that 90-day arrearages has dropped significantly. So we'll start to get back into the kind of the normal billing management, tools we have in our toolbox. We continue to work with our customers, look for payment programs or other ways to manage some of the bills, and very happy that we continue to reduce those back payments. Also want to remind the board and the community that we do have a second board meeting scheduled for November, on November 16th at 6 p.m. here at the district office. This is intended to be concentrated more on workshop items for the board's consideration, not necessarily action items, but updates. Some updates in the regulatory environment, some of the updates in our power procurement challenges. We did have some of our kind of intermittent carbon-free or renewable generations have some maintenance challenges, and some with the drought in the Pacific Northwest, a reduction in some of those hydro generation. We want to provide an opportunity to give an update of where we're at closer towards the end of the year, what some of the new opportunities are, and then really have a discussion on what some of the challenges are moving forward. So things like net metering, demand response, future power procurements, some of the regulatory burdens that we're seeing on the water side with water loss performance standards. So it'll be a good package of updates for the board and start thinking about our strategic plan for 2023 and beyond. And I think I will stop there. We have some great guest speakers this evening. I did have an opportunity to attend the grand opening of the park, and Ms. Cutler is here this evening to do a presentation on that. Before she gets to that great project, really amazed at what the team there was able to build in such a small parcel, what really looked like a small parcel, but it really turned into a great project. So she'll speak on that, and congratulations on that team.
Very good. Thank you very much, Brian. A lot of good news in that update. And that brings us to our first presentation that Kelly Cutler, welcome from CAT, is going to present for us. I don't think so.
Thank you, Brian, for attending, and Kim, for attending the opening of our park. I'm here as one, but feel as though I'm representing the entire community in saying thank you to the TDPUD for a conservation grant that was enthusiastically given and a vote of confidence to us in 2019. I was last here presenting with Mark Tanner, and the presentation that I wanted to show you is basically where we started on our journey that ended up being 5 years and being able to complete this project. And what the grant did was it enabled us to install a state-of-the-art irrigation plan as well as a lighting plan. So I pulled my notes from April 3rd, 2019, when we were actually on the agenda. And I wanted to make sure that we held to our promise, and I believe we actually exceeded it. What we promised at the time was a plan of about 20% or less turf, and I think it would be great if we could, Sean, if we could go to the slide that shows where we started with this project. And it's good to have the visuals so you can see what that space actually looked like. And it's okay, there we go. Won't go past that slide for some reason. I think it's right before that. When we talk about the deficits of this space. Okay, I'll at least go through some of the things, again, that were promised. So a significant decrease in the amount of turf and therefore a large decrease in the amount of water. We're implementing, the implementation plan fully focuses on water conservation while providing adequate shade and interest in the park. This is a conversation that I had with High West Landscape Architects that came up with a concept plan for the park. For the irrigation system, the Hunter MP rotator spray heads was specified. The heads use about 30% less water than compared to traditional sprays. Also implemented in the design was grass turf, where there will be high numbers of people playing and sitting. The team wanted to avoid implementing grass where it won't be used. For all non-turf areas, we implemented a drip irrigation water to be delivered directly to the root zone, so little water is wasted. And then all plant material was appropriate, native to the region, and drought tolerant. That was really important to this project. And then listing some of the plants that were installed include the Bearberry manzanita, very low water plant for ground cover throughout the site. Additional low water plants included in the plan, the common lavender, blue grama, lamb's ear, blue fescue, blue flax. Some of you may be familiar with some of these varieties. Again, all of the chosen plants do not require excess water. What's interesting about the specifics here is that right before I went on stage to present our thanks to the donors for this project, we were able to raise $1.2 million, is that Tim Kritz with Grateful Gardens, who did the landscape install, grabbed me by the arm, and he was extremely enthusiastic about sharing with me the level of sophistication and innovation with the irrigation system that he installed. I didn't get enough information from him, and I wish that he had shared more, and it's a follow-up that I need to make. But the bits that I got from him in that moment as I was walking to stage were that it was setting a standard in the state of California. and that people were looking actually at that system that was installed. So I just want to share with you that we did deliver on a state-of-the-art irrigation system and an LED lighting plan, which is beautiful. I don't know if you've had a chance to walk through the park at dusk, which is when the lights come on. But going back to the donors, what the grant did from the PUD was it acted as a catalyst in enabling us to raise more funds. In 2019, the PUD was actually the second agency to step forward and give us a grant of that size and scope. So again, I just want to, I want to thank the PUD for having the confidence in us being able to get through the project, which took 5 years. We were able to raise $467,000 through grants and local funders, $447,000 with in-kind professional donations, $260,000 with donated construction materials, and then $120,000 individual donations and naming through the pavers, which you can see on the screen. $1.2 million total. This exceeded our original goal. We were hoping to do the ribbon cutting in 2020, but because of the pandemic, we had shutdowns and delays. And when we actually broke ground, and I want to thank Brian for coming to the groundbreaking as well in July of 2021, the project cost had gone up. So we had more money to raise and more of a gap to fill. So it looks like we're not able to get back to that slide for some reason that shows what we were dealing with originally in the space, which was that quarter-acre space that adjoins the Community Arts Center building. I'm hoping, oh, there's another slide. Maybe we can get through it. No. Okay. Well, so use your imaginations if you were on that site before we started construction. What we do have is some raw footage from our videographer, and you're actually the first to see it if we can get it to run. Okay, great. Let me just, before we start this, let me just share with all of you. My board hasn't even seen this footage. So we hired Chris Bartowski, Generical Designs, to do a time lapse of the construction of the project that we're planning to unveil at our annual Christmas party, and thank all of our CAT members that donated materials. And I'm super excited to see the completion of the time lapse. But what you're seeing is some raw footage, drone footage of the evening of the opening, so you can at least get a sense of what the transformation of this space is. So let's see if it'll play. There we go. The amphitheater allows for a band on stage, and I got an email from our local theater company, excited to do outdoor Shakespeare on stage this summer. We've got our natural playscapes. And what you can't see is an incredible artist mural. It was a partnership grant with Arts for the Schools, and we had local teens come up with a theme that encompassed conservation and town history and stewardship in Truckee. And they came up with a train where each boxcar represents something different in those areas. So I, again, on behalf of the community, want to thank the PUD for the grant and the success that we've had with those funds as a catalyst for other grants from community members and investment in this project, and see if any of you have questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation. It really is amazing what has happened in that space. But I'm going to open it up to the rest of my board first, and then I'll conclude myself. So we can start at the far end and work our way up.
I'm happy to start. Yes, Kelly, thank you so much for everything. It was actually a very fun night to see everybody celebrate such a, how everybody came together. And when you walk around after being in town for so long, you have Jen Weisenberg, who was the project manager for it with Mark Tanner Construction. And, Mark was there, and former employees of Tanner Construction and employees who chipped in, and you have the names on all the blocks. And it was just really a warm way to get the entire community involved, including like the student painters who painted the part of the train
Mural.
scene, mural. So, but it was, I don't know, it's always good to have those feel-good projects because everybody chipped in, and I just am excited to see everybody enjoy it when, as we move forward.
You're right, there was a lot of community investment on a lot of different levels.
Definitely. Thanks.
Yes, feel good, but I'll also use the term, it's just a cool place. People are going to use it. It's going to be utilized. It's going to make a big difference. And in a space that was historically just so underutilized. It's easy for us to be proud of supporting you guys and the team and the community and making a useful space for this community to use. And then on top of that, how it all came together and how everyone collaborated to make this happen is just awesome and makes you proud to be part of this community. So thank you so much for everyone involved.
Thank you. Director Guerra, would you like to add anything?
Where's the location of this one?
It's next to, it adjoins the Community Arts Center building on Church Street, which was, depending on how long you've lived in town, the original elementary school or the rec department building,
Center.
now renamed as the Community Arts Center building.
Sorry, but I went out of the house and I didn't put my hearing aids in. And I can hear the words, but I can't understand what you're saying.
It's right downtown, great location. It was intended to be an extension of our downtown, and a revitalization project with a historical building. We had to go through the Historic Preservation Commission review of the mural and any signage. So it's really meant to be a downtown revitalization project that will be fully utilized on many levels by the community moving forward.
Where's room downtown? Where's the room for it downtown?
The old rec center.
Oh, the old rec center, okay.
So it was originally, and I actually have, I do have a visual of the quarter-acre space that, I don't know how well you can see this, but the quarter-acre space that was there was really just asphalt with some grass and an old plastic playground. It had drainage issues, broken asphalt, the playground wasn't to code, it was not ADA compliant, and that's something else that we added to the project as we made sure that it was fully ADA compliant. It was not welcoming or easily accessible. We didn't have an outdoor art space to join with the indoor theater. And we felt that it was a community resource falling short. So that's where we started. The project exceeded all of our expectations, and a lot of that goes to Mark Tanner Construction and our project manager, Jen Weisenberg, who, even with all of the hurdles, wouldn't give up in providing a product that our community would be proud of at the end of the day.
Yeah. Exactly. Kudos to everybody for making it work through COVID, there just have been a lot of challenges over the past 3 years.
Setbacks.
Let's say, yes. I was there at the groundbreaking, and I'm annoyed with myself for not being there at the opening, whatever. But anyhow, I'm extremely pleased that it became such a beautiful and thoughtful space, that we can do responsible, thoughtful, functional spaces. We don't have to we can embrace, these new technologies and ways of doing things and conserve our water and create a wonderful experience for the people who are lucky enough to use it, which is going to be all of us. So my only regret is both my kids were in preschool at the old rec center, and it was, I've spent a lot of time in the old space, and it's just really lovely to see it as its new iteration. So thank you all so much for putting this all together. And it's great to see something done. You did it.
Is there enough room on that lot with the old building there? I noticed the old building because I saw the church across the street, and then I knew where it was in the backside there. And are they doing construction there yet?
Well, I was told, as far as the capacity of the lot that we renovated, I was told that we had a head count of close to 200 that night. And there was a lot of space still. So we were all really amazed with how large the lot became once we started the excavation and opened it up. And so the capacity is larger than we expected, several hundred people.
Perfect.
For concerts.
It's going to be fun.
And I will follow up with Brian, once I get that information from Tim, why there was something so remarkable about that final install with irrigation that he was so excited about. I feel like there's something there that I need to pursue with him and make sure that you have that information.
Yeah, I would like to also comment. I had the fortunate opportunity to attend the groundbreaking and the ribbon cutting. And as we walked around talking to different folks at the ribbon cutting, the common theme was, wow, what was done with this space? It didn't seem that big or that large, like really, what are they going to accomplish in this small little parcel? The comment was, look at this amazing space now that you can assemble, the case in point with the ribbon cutting, the concert, or the band, I called it a concert, but the band playing and tons of shoulder room to still walk around and socialize. It's a great space within steps of the downtown community there. So fantastic job for everyone that was involved there. We're happy to be a participant.
Thank you.
And Kathleen, the community resource bar has been raised. Yes.
Please.
To underscore Kim's comments and also Brian's comments, it was such a joyful night. And it was truly wow and amazing, and the joy in the people who were there in this space. And I think that's what's going to happen again and again and again. The thing I want to underscore is the word that Kelly used, which is you guys being a catalyst that really allowed other people to step in and say yes. That's really important. We feel it. They feel it. In my view, I didn't realize that until the comments were made that night. And I said to Kelly the next day, I said, first of all, you have to be really proud about what happened here. And the second thing is I have to go to the PUD board meeting and thank you, just as a community member, to say you guys were a big part of taking the risk and being the catalyst in making that happen and letting all the dominoes fall. So thank you very much. You need to be congratulated for that.
Thank you for your kind comments. That's the kind of example everybody's happy to be, right? It's in contrast to our children. So thank you very much. I think we all enjoyed the presentation. We're going to enjoy the space and, moving forward into the future openly. Next up is our consent calendar. Do we have any public comments on the consent calendar?
No, Madam President.
Do we have any board comments on the consent calendar? Does anybody have anything? Okay, I have a quick question that I gave Brian a heads up on that I had regarding item number 9. I don't want to pull it, I just want to make a quick comment/question. GEI Consultants is going to do another hydrogeologic consulting report for the Martis Valley groundwater. And we have been using GEI Consultants for a number of years now, and we're familiar with their work, they're familiar with our basin, but I did want to know, well, how long we have been using them, and to keep in mind that, just like with our audits, different eyes can look at things in different ways, and I wanted to be sure that we were getting different views, maybe different is an opportunity to hire different, not that there's anything, not a complaint with our current product, but just, again, a different, is that something that we are considering doing in the future?
Real quick, just want to check with Council Gross. Should we, just before I answer it, should we pull this item, or are you okay with me answering and just continuing it with it in the consent calendar?
You're on mute, Steve, which is interesting.
I think you're on mute.
Says he's not.
You're on mute, Steve.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Poor Steve.
Steve, we can't hear you.
Oh, there
we
you
go.
are.
You're on.
Now you're
Okay, that. I said we're this far deep, we might as well just go ahead and proceed. Typically, if we wanted to have any discussion on an item on consent, we really should pull it and, continue with the other consent items and then pull an item for discussion. So, you know what, why don't you just go ahead and pull that
Let's pull it.
item, consider the other item on consent, and then come back to this one.
Perfect. We're going to pull item number 9. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar minus item number 9 at the moment?
I'll move on this project.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call vote on that?
Thank you. Director Aguirre?
Yes,
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes.
The record will note that Vice President Bender is absent.
Brian, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Is that the Center's Mall next to the 7-Eleven? Is it next to the 7-Eleven, or is it up here by the Forest Service?
Which one?
The Sanders Well.
Sanders, well.
Sanders Well is our facility over behind Cyril Mancuso's storage facility off Pioneer.
Little Prosser Heights?
Sort of in that direction, but more in the Pioneer Commerce area.
And I knew where all the pumps were.
Sneaky, yeah.
It's somewhat hidden on it's a small parcel we have behind the boat storage facility over there that Mr. Mancuso owns.
Oh, okay.
So backtracking a moment to, actually, I misspoke. Okay, so we approved the consent calendar with item number 8. We now have a question about item number 9, which was advisability of using different consultants just to have a different view, different metrics, different methodologies. I think more information is never a bad thing.
Yes, and so your intuition is correct. So the approval before you this evening is for one of the annual updates to our previous groundwater management plan report. And so this, in 2024, or for 2024, our collaborative agencies, the PUD, North Star Community Services District, and Placer County Water, intend to go out to an RFP for interest of any hydrogeological services and analysis to conduct the new comprehensive report in 2024. So this is part of our annual update. And basically, this report includes updated well and monitoring information, updating the previous report that been done in previous years. And so for next year, in 2024, we'll do a new comprehensive report with the opportunity for other consulting agencies to offer their services.
Okay, very good. And I also recognize that we're not the only, we have a consortium of districts that participate in this, and I understand that we all have to be on the same page with these decisions. So I just wanted to inquire about that and what that looked like. So thank you very much for that answer. That makes me happy. Thank you. Shall we now approve that item via a roll call vote?
I move to approve item number 9 as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Can we get a vote, please?
Yes, Madam President, there is no public comment for this item.
Thank
And I'll
you.
take a roll call vote. Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes,
The record will note that Vice President Bender is absent.
very good. Thank you for indulging me on that, which rolls us right into action item number 10, consideration of the Aqua JPIA Commitment to Excellence Program. So we will be authorizing the district's participation in Aqua's JPIA Commitment to Excellence Program, and I believe we have a presentation this evening.
Good evening, President Finn and members of the board. I am here tonight with Robin Flint, our risk manager with Aqua JPIA, to present action item number 10, consideration of the JPIA Commitment to Excellence Program. A little background and history. In June of 2019, during an in-depth research of insurance policies, the district joined membership with the Association of California Water Agencies Joint Powers Insurance Authority, Aqua JPIA, in order to obtain appropriate insurance coverage for the most advantageous costs to the district. This 3-year contract was a considerable cost savings to the district as utility service provider in a high fire danger area. The district's Aqua JPIA membership includes additional benefits beyond affordable insurance coverage at no additional cost. Additional benefits and services include in-person and online safety trainings, risk and human resources best practices, needs assessments, professional development opportunities, and more. In March 2022, the Board of Directors approved a new position of Risk and Compliance Specialist. We filled this position in June 2022. The Human Resources and Risk team has been working to establish programs, policies, trainings, and resources to elevate safety, risk, and compliance here at the district. Aqua JPIA's resources were identified as a critical tool to this endeavor. To participate in some of the previous mentioned benefits, JPIA asked members to sign the Commitment to Excellence Program Agreement. So I'm going to turn it over to Robin Flint to go into more details of what that Commitment to Excellence program is.
Thank you, and my thanks to Brian and to Jillian for asking me to come and do this presentation. And we do appreciate Truckee Donner PUD as being a member as our risk pool at the JPIA. So the Commitment to Excellence program, next slide, please. Back in 2013, our CEO, Andy Sells, came to the risk management department and said, what can you guys do to reduce losses? And he wouldn't take a shrug, we don't know. So what we ended up doing is we took 7 years of loss histories from our workers' compensation, liability, and property coverage programs. And doing that in-depth analysis, we came up with loss leaders based on categories. And at that time, it was 5 loss reduction focus areas. Vehicle operations with 300 plus members in our liability and property program. We have a lot of vehicle accidents. 60% is the other party hitting us. 40% of the times it's our drivers. So we do have vehicle operations as best practices, and what can we help our members do to reduce destruction infrastructure, employment practices, and ergonomic falls. I mentioned 5 that we did come up and introduce, and you notice that there are 6 up there. After Paradise Irrigation District and the Paradise Fire, we had a few more. The Carr Fire up in Reading, we had the Montecito, not so much of the fire, but the landslide after that fire. We ended up developing the Wildfire Prevention Loss Reduction Focus Area, which was also approved by our executive committee. So we now have 6 loss leaders, but we really wanted to show and develop what can we help our members do to implement the best practices. You do note here, it's that partnership with our member agencies. There is nothing mandatory about this. We do have one caveat that's tied to this, but really is we ask our members just to take a pledge, partner with us whenever they can implement a best practice. Next slide, please. So one thing that we did develop is this booklet, and you can download it online. This is hot off the presses. When I presented this to the senior management a couple weeks ago, we were in the process of finalizing it, but we have this guide. It's called our full guide. It's an explanation of our focus areas and what the descriptions are, and then we have supporting best practices that are up on our website. Next slide, please. So through this partnership with our JPI and our members, again, we've identified now 6 loss reduction focus areas. We just ask our members to partner with us when they can implement a best practice. We did develop more than 200 supporting resources. We identify and we highlight these in our risk assessment report, so it's not going to be uncommon if you're doing something great. And when we did our last risk assessment, we always will highlight that's a C2E vehicle operations best practice. That's a C2E construction best practice. So we do highlight those in our reports. And then lastly, a lot of our training is emphasized to also reduce those claims or highlighting our C2E program. Next slide, please. So just a little bit of a deeper dive on our full guide, vehicle operations or vehicle program. Next slide, please. This is just showing one page of the best practices as we've broken it down. So we've identified driver review and qualification. The DMV pull notice is huge, and some of our members do not recognize that being a special district, it is a free program. So we often will promote the DMV pull notice program. That's just, if you implement it, it's a great best practice. Driver training, defensive driver training is a best practice, and we have more, and I'm going to highlight one other one in an additional slide. So next slide, please. This is also just showing that in this full guide, the explanation. So if a member is going to take a look, pull notice program, I've heard JPIA mention that. You can go to that and show that explanation, and we just share there that the Department of Motor Vehicles has a pull notice program. And again, for special districts, it's a no cost to be part of that. And that just shows us someone that is driving on district business has an accident, they need to report it, but then also someone at your district will get notified of that particular accident. And by the way, JPIA, we're in the DMV pull notice program, so I am also part of this because I drive on JPI business. Next slide, please. Backing is another one we promote constantly. This is statistically proven that if a member agency or anyone does a backing avoidance program or policy, then you have a high likelihood of reducing accidents. So we will promote a lot of the circle or the cone of safety. We promote reverse park or pull through, that the front of your vehicle is pointed outwards, because we have a lot of backing accidents. Even with backup cameras, there are still a lot of backing accidents. So this is just one where we promote as a best practice. Truckee Donner PUD does not have to implement any of this. We will just identify best practices. Next slide, please. So this is an example where we highlight it in our reports. This is a risk assessment report. We went out to one of our two of our members, South Coast Water and 29 Palms, just as part of our risk assessment, our walkthrough. We noted that they do have the barricades, the sort of those chevrons on the back of their vehicles. You know, a lot of public utilities will put that. It's a visual, and that actually has shown to avoid accidents. So we will just highlight in our reports. A best practice is think about the chevrons on your district vehicles. You don't have to do it, but we will highlight it. You also see that text underneath there as part of our report. We actually highlight additional resources from our C2E, but also the risk control manual. So we'll hyperlink those, and again, just sharing with our member agencies some of those resources and practices. Next slide, please. This is one through the Walnut Valley Water District. You see their H.R. Labounty Safety Award Program. That is another benefit of being a member to JPIA. The Safety Award, or H.R. Labounty Safety Award Program, this is designed to incentivize and reward staff. This is for your frontline staff. You do not have to have signed on to the C2E to nominate staff for the H.R. Labounty Safety Award. But this is one where Walnut Valley Water District, they implemented the circle of safety, cone of safety. So they're not parked where their fronts are backed and facing outward because it's on the side of the streets. But what they did implement is that whenever their district vehicles park, they put the cones out. What the goal is when they are ready to leave, not that they're going to get in their cars and work, but when they're ready to leave, they walk around their vehicles, pick up cones, and look for any encumbrances or any other hazards to avoid as they're taking off from their parking space. I have heard, and it was not Walnut Valley, but someone once found a homeless person in the back, and just because of picking up the cones, they saw that person there and was able to avoid a pretty horrific incident. Next slide, please. Under our construction, we have a lot of water lines, and a lot of our member agencies have water lines that are hit. On this particular one, and we presented this to the JPI's Risk Management Committee. So we did have a district that did have marked lines. The district was doing their work and hit a mismarked gas line. The problem was, and the challenge is, they didn't follow 811 practices, calling 911 and evacuate. So what occurred is the gas company did report this to the Dig Safe Board, which is now called the Underground Safety Board. So we did follow up with our members and just offered best practices. We gave them some additional resources, and that's where we're there just to support our member agencies. Next slide, please. This is showing infrastructure. We have a lot of canal failure and flooding. This was also presented to our Risk Management Committee, and that's why the members noted up there. But the Fresno ID, part of the challenge there is that their canal went through a junkyard. And what occurred is, what the district ended up telling us after the canal failure, because there was blockage, and you can kind of see it at the lower part of the photo there, we realized that the operator wasn't going through all of their canal lines to really do the visual inspection. After the fact, we learned that the operator said there were some locked gates that he didn't have access to, which then led to us not seeing the blockage, and we just identified best practices. So again, learning for how do we reduce losses, and so that way you're paying less of a premium. Next slide, please. I'm not in HR, but we will review your handbooks. That's part of a JPI free service. So that's, and we also have additional HR best practices up on our website. Next slide, please. Scotts Valley, Ergonomic Falls. So this particular member did apply for a risk control grant. So I had mentioned the HR Labounty Safety Award really does incentivize the members. We do have a risk control grant program. That is the one caveat. Our CEO, Andy Sells, said, and as well as our executive committee that did approve the grant program, a member has to have signed on to our C2E agreement in order to apply for a risk control grant. Now, the risk control grant program, the focus is our 6 loss reduction focus areas. So Scotts Valley was looking at a hydro excavator to help really reduce, improve their task, but they wrote up their risk control grant to say this was going to reduce a lot of ergonomic injuries and slip, trips, and falls. And the way they wrote up that grant request was stellar, and they got $10,000 from JPIA. So our risk control grant program opens every October 1st. It ends this year on December 3rd. I have shared that with Truckee Donner PUD, but again, the caveat is you have to have signed on to a C2E agreement in order to apply. Our executive committee has identified we can award up to 10 grants, up to $10,000. So it was a little drop in the bucket for the hydro excavator, but it did help Scotts Valley Water District, and it was a win for us to help reduce ergonomic injuries. Next slide, please. And then wildfire prevention was the one we recently added in the last 2 years. Next slide, please. This is just showing the breakdown, and we have more resources on our website. A lot of hyperlinks, but a lot of resources onto wildfire prevention / emergency management. Next slide, please. And this is just giving you an explanation of what we have. We always know about defensible space, but some of our members that are in the more urban areas don't recognize the defensible space, but we do and often promote this regarding just wildland fire. Next slide, please.
And this is one where Centerville CSD up in Reading, they won a risk control grant based upon wildfire prevention. They wanted some emergency generators. They have PSPS events, but they had a couple of fires, and right behind that shot is one of when one of the fires had went through. So they said, we've got to help with the water during an emergency, special wildland fire, and they submitted a risk control grant award for the generators, and they did win the $10,000, and this is showing you one of 3 generators that they were able to put in. Next slide, please. So we have, in addition to just giving guidance, out on our website, over 200 resources our member agencies can use and download and implement. Many are specific to water and wastewater, and a number of those resources are provided from our member agencies. Next slide, please. So again, it's able to download and customize. Typically, when it's not in writing and there's a claim, doesn't help our defense so much. So we do like a few things in writing, as well as Cal OSHA likes to see things in writing. So we do say that you download them and customize them. Next slide, please. This is just a screenshot of our webpage of the more than 200 resources under our C2E. Next slide, please. And this is just one of the ones that I shared. We did develop a standard operating guideline for lift stations, and the member agency can go to our website, download it, take our logo off, make it member agency specific, but it's just an additional resource. You don't have to do it. We wanted to make it user-friendly for our members to implement these items. Next slide, please. And this is more on just the lift stations. Next slide. And then on our website, you can also do a quick search. If you're thinking 200 plus, I'm just looking for something on valves, they can go ahead and do it, type in a quick search. We want to make this really easy for our members. Next slide. So our goal is just for our new members, we introduce it. For existing members, we do find that we have to ask them just to recommit if they haven't signed, remind them of what we have. We do look at updating and developing additional risk control practices, something that's now, because of this, and up on our website. Drones. We have we call them unmanned aerial aircraft on our webpage, but we do have about 7 or 8 best practices if you have a drone. We found that many of our members are purchasing drones, and so we wanted to develop best practices. In addition to not just purchasing drones to do like tank inspections, many of our members are purchasing drones that are thermography. So not just a heat source, but a water source or a cold source to identify leaks. So we wanted to ensure that there are some best practices out there for our member agencies. And then again, the other part of it is if you want to apply for our risk control grant, you do have to have that signed C2E agreement. That's the only caveat. Next slide, please. And that's an example of our agreement. Obviously, this is older because it's our old logo, and it has 5 loss reduction focus areas and not the 6 with wildfire. But that just shows you we're not mandating you. You don't have to implement 300 or 30 of our 200 best practices. It's just whenever you can, we ask that you implement the best practice. Next slide, please. This is just a partial list of members that have signed on to it. And I believe my next slide is just if you have any questions.
Do you have a... Closing it out. You close it out, and then we'll go questions. How's that?
Fiscal impact. There is no direct fiscal impact associated with this item. And our recommendation is to authorize the district's participation in JPI's Commitment to Excellence program.
Very good. Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this presentation?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. And seeing none here in person, I'm going to bring it back to the board of directors to if we have any questions or comments. I just want to say thank you. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Clear and a lot of information. So there we go. Do we
Yes.
have any director comments or questions?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can, your passion and your enthusiasm for risk management is contagious. So it's, thank you
you.
very much for your presentation.
Of course.
No, I like to always hear how you are kind of moving with the times with, you know, you saw wildfires and you put together a policy on wildfires. When you mentioned the car fire, I mean, sadly, my in-laws were in that, yeah. But they're fine now. But just seeing how now you're being proactive for that. And also the drones, how you have the extra policy for the drones, I do appreciate it. When I was here, I think I just told you, is that JPIA and the idea of moving to JPIA was kind of in its infancy, so it's kind of exciting for me to be able to move forward with it and, you know, accept this excellence and be able to support it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Harris. Director Laliotis?
No, just, this is, I've worked with JPA for 23 years now at Tahoe City PUD. And I think that the word that I would use to characterize the relationship is a partnership. And it very, prior to this, we had our insurance policies with this company and that company, and there was no cohesion and there was no partnership to that process. And there's one thing I learned with JPIA over the years is they take this partnership seriously.
We do, thank you.
And all of their efforts, their audits, their risk consultants that come out and provide the training to your staff. They've just done an excellent job over the years, and it's really, really great to see all these new steps moving forward, and really trying to tie, as Kim said, sort of these new relevant functions that are bursting into the risk world, literally. So no, this is just proves to me that how great a move this was for this agency to move and become partners with JPIA. And it's great to see JPA changing with the times, but still providing the excellent service that they have over the years. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Laliotis. Director Aguirre, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, I think that my memo started with the insurance savings. And that alone would be worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the vehicles and everything else kind of fits in.
Yep.
And I didn't hear a cost.
Our commitment to excellence program, no cost. And in fact, the added benefit is you get to, the added benefit is being able to apply for a risk control grant, which I know when I chatted during the risk assessment, we had some really good ideas. And that's $10,000 to help implement a process, program, or piece of equipment. So another benefit.
Well, let's see, I lost my thought here. Doggone it. It was about the cost. I guess it's not important.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think it's a pretty good deal.
Perfect.
Thank you, Director Aguirre.
Yes.
I agree with my fellow directors. It's all upside, no downside.
Good.
And it's always good to have, just like with the GEI study, new eyes, new, best practices. What are we, just keep us all moving forward, and safety is one of our values, very up there.
I remember,
Yes.
Go for it.
it was about, you say we have to have the agreement here on record for a little while before we can apply?
No, actually, if you sign the agreement, and if Jillian has the time to get a grant in before December 3rd to work her magic, she can certainly do that.
Already applied?
Sorry?
No.
Already applied?
No, I think we've talked about it, but I did say that we had to have that agreement in place beforehand. Yeah.
Okay.
And President Finn, I do appreciate your comments. We do partner with our members, but we learn a lot from our members. We have 330 plus in liability. So we knew about the drones. We didn't know about the thermography drones until the members were telling us. And so now I'm pushing that out just because I'm learning that from our member agency. So I appreciate your comments, but I also appreciate how we do learn from our members. So thank you for that.
And all, the flows have to go in all directions, right?
Right.
That's how it works the best. So I'm happy to, I think we can put before the board, do we have a motion to,
Yeah, I'll move staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
can we get a roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes.
We will note that Vice President Bender's absent.
Very good. We are now committed to excellence with JPIA.
Thank you, thank
So
you,
thank
thank
you very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, that brings us to some routine business this evening. Item number 11, approve the treasurer's report for September 2022. which includes fund balances for the month of July and August 2022, and also disbursements for the month of August 2022 and September 2022. Includes Government Code Section, 53065.5 items. So do we have any public comment on the treasurer's report?
No, President Finn.
And seeing none, do we have any director comments or questions on the treasurer's report?
I do have one question.
Okay.
So, and I think I've asked this in the past, but just confirming for this one, is that when we pay the credit card to US Bank, because it wasn't indicated on here, it doesn't include any of the Government Code Section 53065.5 items, correct?
We're reading your lips, Steve.
It would.
Gross.
I'm sorry, I thought the question was posed to Mike. I don't know if he's there, but the answer to your question would be no, direct payments to the credit card, to the bank for payments on the credit card would not show up under that category because that's not a reimbursement to the employee.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, is
You're
that,
welcome.
is that clear to you? Do you?
Well, it's the education funds that are paid, that an employee may have, like the linemen go to their training in Idaho, and they'll use the credit cards for the training and conferences and everything, and since those are identified as requirements of their position, and they're on the credit card, then they don't have to identify it. But if it's a reimbursement directly to an employee, so if an employee put it on their own credit card and it's a reimbursement, then it's identified as one of those Government Code Section items, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
But that reimbursement would not occur through a credit card. It would occur through staff producing a check, I'm assuming.
The actual procurement isn't the benchmark or litmus test for it. It's the manner in which it was procured. If it was something that was procured on a district credit card, then that expense is passed directly to the district. If it was something procured by an individual's personal expense, credit card, check, cash, and it's reimbursable, it's a qualified reimbursable expense, then it would show up as a reimbursement on the ledger.
This is the cost of the PUD. So the cost of the PUD, it's not an reimbursement.
Either way, it has been approved by the PUD as an expense qualified under the position, the title, or whatever that might be. There's a couple of ways we can execute a procurement. It could be directly through a district-issued card, a PO, or some other form, or if a staff member has approval to purchase it and they end up purchasing it on a personally owned or managed credit card or some other expense format, they can submit that for reimbursement. The expense either way goes to the district. It's just a different routing. If it's a reimbursable expense that's reimbursed to an employee, it shows up on the ledger as a reimbursement.
So I just wanted to follow up with Director Harris, because we've had this question asked a number of times. I'm wondering if your spider sense is tingling about something. Is there something that you can?
No, I mean, the Government Code section is just as Brian had said, and it's not an identification of expenses that the district has on behalf of that employee. Does that make sense? That would be a different question for a future time.
Right, because I feel like this exact question has been.
Yeah, oh, no, I
Okay.
posed, I said that I had asked this in the
Okay.
past,
So, but
that's-
you understand it, we understand it, staff there's nothing that you feel like we, 'cause we're a team here, so if there's something that's making you anxious about it, that more clarity is needed somehow.
No, it would be interesting to me to see, in HR, sometimes you can put together these statements of what the district has paid to benefit an employee, whether it be insurance costs, whether it be salary, taxes paid on their behalf, and in addition, education costs. So that was just part of the larger question that maybe at some point, if that is a goal of the board, that would be an interesting thing to see, total
What-
compensation packages for, per
I
employee. Do you understand? I think Mike understands.
Believe that
kinda
that's
what
the
I'm saying.
board's purview.
I'm sorry?
I don't believe that that's the board's purview. That's Brian and HR's realm of, that's their job, and our job is setting policy.
Yeah, I don't know that I have complete clarity on the request. There are some educational and training components that are part of the operational expenses that are requirement examples, safety training, new best practices as we spoke with JPIA. Then there's other educational components, and the district has in district code and in the MOU provisions for qualifying educational expenses, training expenses. Some of those come at, the direct expense of the district. Some of them are based on certain criteria that they relate to future professional development. There's all kinds of different criteria there. Some of that's built into our operational expenses, and some of it is, part of our larger benefits package.
Yeah. I mean, we approve the budget. They parse it out and
Well, we approved the policy that a employee could use for education and whatnot. Are you requesting to see individual employees' full compensation package for the specific employee or for the district policy or positions as a whole?
That's a good question. I'd have to think about that.
I'm just trying to figure out what you're asking for because, as I said,
Right.
and I believe we approve policies that say, yes, there's an education reimbursement component to the district's policy, and these group of employees are eligible to utilize that program. And I think that's sort of the end of our process. If an employee pursues that and signs up, goes through Brian, whoever, and Jillian, and says, I'd like education reimbursement for X, Y, and Z, and they go through the process, and that gets handled, and they go through their educational program, we don't necessarily see that or need to see that.
No, I guess what are the limits for education reimbursement? I will pull out district code, and that will maybe be a question later on that I can pose to Brian, or I'll
yeah,
just,
because
I'll pull it
that staff
out
is
and
also
take a
here
look.
to provide you with information. I mean, that's part of, you can, as a director, call Brian anytime and have these conversations, maybe, to make things more clear for you. Because that's, again, if I feel like if your spider sense is tingling about something and you've got something that is making you feel anxious here on the dais, we need to help staff understand what it is. And we need to help you understand what it is
Okay.
so that we can get clarity.
Yeah, and like I said, it was a question that I had asked in the past, and I got the same answer, so I will just
Yeah,
say
Because the
thank you
answer
very
is still
much
the
for
same,
answering,
yeah.
and I'll
I think
take a
that's my
look-
point. I'm
I'll
like,
take
the
a look
answer's the
at where,
same.
yeah, at the policy and where those expenses, if they are capped at any point, so.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so I think that, do we have any more director comments or questions? Are we willing to entertain a motion on approving the treasurer's report?
I'll move approval of items 11A and B.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second,
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Director Aguirre,
yes.
Director Laliotis,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes,
President Finn.
Yes.
The record will note Vice President Bender's absent.
Thank you. And that brings us to item number 12, approval of the minutes of October 5th, 2022 and October 19th, 2022. Do we have any public comments on the minutes?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. Seeing none here, do we have any director's comments or questions on the minutes? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the minutes for October 5 and October 19, 2022.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Director Aguirre,
Yes.
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes.
The record will note that Vice President Bender's absent.
Thank you very much. And I believe that concludes our meeting for this evening. So we are adjourned.
There's no closed session, I understand.
No closed session. We pulled it. So, woo, go get dinner, everybody. Thank you so much,
Good night,
everybody. I
everybody.
really appreciate your time and your contributions tonight.
Good night, everybody. And thank you, President Finn, for your kind words.
Thank you, Steve Gross.
Thank you. Nice to meet you in person.